Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the fastest growing, fastest rising post professional wrestling show in all of sports entertainment. Welcome to Ringside Conversations. I am your host, Roddy of Chrisman Media, and we are fresh off the Raw post Royal Rumble, where we had a lot of chaos immediately starting the show, to say the least. We have Bron Breakker fresh off as Adam Pearce would say in the show, disappointing Royal Rumble performance by Bron Breakker, who is very pissed off and starts off the show storming to the ring, flipping everything. He destroyed Michael Cole and Corey Graves' poor announcer table. And can we get justice for the announcers table? They work very hard, just like the wrestlers do. Just for him to have the rest of the division come out and try to calm him down. They all understand his frustrations. For those who are living under a rock, the Royal Rumble was this past Saturday on ESPN. He was number 2 in the Royal Rumble and was already very, very upset about his number entry into the Royal Rumble. Just for him to, mid-entrance into the ring, get attacked by a masked figure, which is hilarious considering the whole Austin Theory stuff, right? Gets attacked from behind, gets curb stomped, gets placed in the ring with the ruler himself, Obafemi, to get knocked out of the ring in seconds, right? So Bron Breakker's pissed off, and he believes that Adam Pearce is out for him, considering all the hell that he has put Adam Pearce through, right? So Paul Heyman takes upon himself to share Bron Breakker's frustration. But, Bron Breakker's pissed. At this point, he wants to do all the talking, right? He wants all the smoke. So with that being said, he calls out Adam Pearce. He says in the count of 3, he needs him to come out with an explanation. So when Adam Pearce comes out, when he says 2, he has a load of security because, Crash Out Bron is among us. Per his comments about Bron Breakker's performance at the Royal Rumble, Bron Breakker becomes Crash Out Bron. So then he walks up to the small line of security that was on the ramp just for a returning LA Knight to come out and attack the Vision from behind. For those who are unaware, why is this important? It is important because I want to say less than a couple months ago, LA Knight got hurt from the Vision and was put off TV. So he has an agenda with the Vision, in which Bron Breakker kind of is like over it at this point. Once LA Knight runs out to the arena with all the fans and whatnot, at this point, Adam Pearce is gone, hightailed out of there, and Bron's like, whatever. Walks to the back, right? Now, this is important because we still are unaware of who this other new masked man is. There's hella theories out there on who it could be. Some people think it's Austin Theory again, which I pray that's not the case. Some people think it's Logan Paul, which I think is a more interesting choice if you're going to take a member of the Vision currently to, attack Bron mid-entrance into the Rumble. Why not have it be Logan Paul? And it does appear in the ski mask that he had a lightly colored beard. So, Logan Paul could match that description. So Curve Stomp looked not as strong too in terms of just the technique. So maybe it is Logan. Who knows? Moving on to the first match of Monday Night Raw, we have Javon Evans versus El Grande Americano. Now, this is a rematch. If I remember correctly, I think either a week or 2 weeks ago, it was before the Royal Rumble match. This match has already happened on Monday Night Raw for Javon Evans to get hurt. And so he had a right shoulder injury, which caused the match to be over. So El Grande Americano wins. Now, El Grande Americano comes out in the Royal Rumble, okay? I'm bringing this up because El Grande Americano made his return as well. So if you don't know, then you don't know. But if you know, you know. So the match was fine. Nothing too crazy. Javon Evans is an amazing talent. And I think once kind of WWE gives him it seems like everybody, though, is kind of lacking. I'm not going to say everybody, but it just seems WWE creative is just having a rough period of time, so to speak. That being said, mid-match, for those who don't know, El Grande Americano's whole shtick is his headbutt because he puts a metal plate in his mask. Well, while one of his minions, El Bravo, I believe, the red one, gives him the metal plate, El Grande Americano comes out and costs El Grande Americano the match against Javon Evans. It's a story told of the heavens, like El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano needs to happen at WrestleMania 42. It will feed families. Moving on to such a heartbreaker. Like, just throw it in our face, why don't you, right? We hear the infamous, the phenomenal AJ Styles music, but unfortunately, AJ Styles did not come out. Unfortunately, it was the man who ended his career, Gunther, coming out to his music, just sticking it in our faces that I beat the phenomenal one, added to the resume of legends that I have retired, along with Goldberg and John Cena. He basically comes out and the crowd is letting him hear it. You know, F you Gunther chants, you tapped out chants, which he's been getting since he tapped out at Jey Uso at last year's WrestleMania. And he starts talking in his native tongue to where Dragon Lee comes out while he was speaking. For those to ask why a luchador will come out during this is because Dragon Lee was AJ Styles' last tag team partner prior to AJ Styles retiring. And you would think like, oh, okay, so former tag team, he's going to defend his honor. He's going to go out there and whip him. No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, he has some momentum at first until, Gunther comes out and hits him upside the head with a ring bell and then puts him in a sleeper hold for several seconds and then hangs him over the ropes in a sleeper hold. So, there's a chance that we have witnessed the career of AJ Styles and Dragon Lee because that was brutal to watch. Moving on, we had a couple backstage moments. Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman, the most talked about beef on Monday Night Raw right now. It's actually kind of entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, FOFA is the motto of the beef, and Paul Heyman says, you're going to make a match between Bron Breakker and LA Knight tonight. And Adam Pearce is like, nah. And Paul Heyman's like, what do you mean? You're the general manager of Monday Night Raw. What do you mean you can't make that match? And, per general manager, he says, well, LA Knight came out and was causing ruckus to my show. So, I had to do my job and make sure that he escorts the building. Bronson Reed to have a match against Penta instead. And then he goes and says, you're going to make sure Bron Breakker is escorted out the building next. And then it's just so funny considering Paul Heyman is just so good. He basically just like, do you know who I am and what city you're in? Essentially is what he's saying. Because for those who don't know, easy. We'll get to that match later though. This was my quote unquote favorite match of the night, even though it really wasn't even a match. It was a squash match just without the match. It was a squash. The War Raiders come out and which led us as fans to believe there's a tag team match about to happen. No. Obafemi. You hear his music come out. You hear the crowd go, oh, dun, dun, oh, dun, dun, oh. And you just see him walking down in the ring. And then he squashes both members. Like, it was a handicap match, but there was no bell ring. There was no 1-2. He just came in there and showed why he's the ruler. He is the mountain you cannot climb. Raw debut. Love to see it. And partake into the Penta versus Big Bronson Reed match. It was, I would probably say, your most typical Vision versus whoever match. But in spite of it being a typical Vision match, implying, outside the ring nonsense or whatever, the match was actually pretty solid. I feel like Big Bronson Reed continues to show his worth as not only a member of the faction, but being on TV and putting on matches for the company. And Penta's just great. Penta's always been great, though. That's nothing new to anybody. There's a portion of the match where Penta takes out both Logan Paul and Austin Theory because Austin Theory was the first one of the member of the Vision to get involved, right? So then Logan Paul gets involved shortly after because Penta super kicks Theory. And then while Penta hits Logan, he also hits the ref. So the ref's out for a short period of time. So when it looks like it was over post that because it's like, okay, Big Bronson Reed gets a small window of a chance to catch his breath. And then he does a very cool power slam and then a tsunami, but there's no ref. So while he's trying to pin Penta, Paul Heyman's like, where's the ref? Where's the ref? But then Big Bronson Reed gets up and, he just does this. And Paul's like, all right, go ahead. So he goes and gets a chair, right? And it's like, okay, what's a big man like that finna do with a chair? But we will never have the answer to that question because LA Knight never left the building. He comes out, does his thing, attacks Bronson Reed from behind. And mind you, Logan Paul, Theory are out. They're just there for the vibes at this point on the ground, though. To which the ref finally recovers, of course, and then count out victory goes to Penta. So was not the match of the night, though. The match of the night is actually coming up next. So for Stephanie Vaquero versus Raquel Rodriguez in a Philly street fight for the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship, it started off with Dominic Mysterio coming back, which is always great to see Dirty Dom. We love Dirty Dom. Who introduces the Women's Royal Rumble winner, being Liv Morgan, who then introduces Raquel Rodriguez. And, when Raquel comes in, it's all cool and all, but, she kind of also addresses the elephant in the room. And it's like, why did you eliminate me at the Rumble? Which is kind of a silly question, Raquel, because even though, y'all are a faction, it's a Royal Rumble, every woman for themselves. So I don't quite get the question. However, Liv basically just says a win is a win for the Judgment Day, so it doesn't matter who would have won. She also told her, oh, you're the most selfless person ever, and blah blah relation games, right? And then Raquel basically is like, oh, okay, you know what, you're right. I'm a very selfless person, all that stuff, whoop de whoop. But for the sake of my championship match coming up next, stay in the back. Because I want to do this alone. And it'll mean more to her by her be able to do this alone. And Liv was like, okay. So then Stephanie comes out. So in terms of the match was actually pretty fun in my opinion. By the way, WWE, I am so sick of these Slim Jim tables. Not even because of the branding, but it seems like ever since we've gotten these Slim Jim tables, the table breaks are nowhere near as fun. They're nowhere near as meaningful. They don't feel impactful anymore. The only table that feels impactful now is just the announcer table, which has always been the case, I guess. But I swear these are new tables and they're boo-boo. I don't like it. Put a comment down if you think we need to start a GoFundMe for better tables or something. I don't know. Anyways, both women put on, in my opinion, a pretty damn good match. I mean, you saw those weak tables being utilized. We saw Raquel, in my opinion. I'm so happy they let her be just a dominant figure in the match. It seems like they're allowing her to just become this dominant, big, sexy, figure, to be a big woman, strong woman, and for it to mean something. And it's crazy because 2 years ago, Raquel was this figure, but she was always getting beat up. And it was well, what's the point, right? But I said it before and I'll say it again. In 2025, Raquel Rodriguez, in my opinion, was the most improved superstar, both men and women's, and we can fight about it. It's fine. I thought her improvement meant a lot, only for the division, but for the Judgment Day as well. Because now we're putting I'm not even going to necessarily say we're putting a rocket onto her, but we're putting her involved in championship matches, right? That's outside of the tag team division, which is great to see. And it's not like she can't perform. She put on a great match tonight, guys. I mean, and it's not like it was one of those street fight matches where they kind of took it easy, not a whole lot of weapons were involved. She slammed Stephanie on chairs, hella chairs, put her through tables. And ultimately the match ended up coming down to Liv Morgan not keeping her word. So in spite of her and her best friend, her sister, saying, that she's a selfless person, blah, blah, blah. She grabs the women's championship and gives it to Raquel to say, because, she won't get disqualified for it, it's a street fight. All weapons are legal. But, Raquel looks at her in confusion, why are you here? In which Stephanie capitalizes on that and puts her on a table to where she's going to do her corkscrew moonsault off the top rope. And she didn't do it because Roxanne Perez then comes out, which she didn't even throw a punch. She literally just got up, got pushed off, went through a table. And it was oh, okay. And then I really thought we was finna get it, man, because it looks like she was setting up for a Tejana bomb onto a table. Instead, Stephanie reversed it into a Hurricane Rana, barely put a dent in the table. At that point, just get powerbombed, Steph. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But after that, then she goes back up, moves the table out the way, does her corkscrew moonsault, wins 1, 2, 3. So either way it goes, in my opinion, I would much rather have Raquel Rodriguez win the championship. I feel like the championship it's ultimately Liv Morgan's goal anyway. So why not bring it into the Judgment Day on someone else's shoulder to where it can make that much of more of a personal story when Liv turns on her? But I mean, with the fact that Raquel lost, maybe she'll be the one to turn on Liv, like a face turn or whatever the case may be. It's still up in the air in terms of that, but I thought the story would have been money, and I thought WWE could have done magic with it. So after the match, Stephanie raises up her title. Liv Morgan hits the Oblivion and raises the title, implying that she would pick her. But, she kind of left a little her body language could insinuate that, I don't have to pick you, but I have the option to pick you. And so then, the most important moment of the night, we see a vehicle pull up backstage, and there he was, the tribal chief, the OTC, walks out into Philly, and they acknowledge him. So Roman Reigns then says, I have a decision to make. And he wants the city of Philly given the history that Roman Reigns has with Philly. For those who don't know what the history is, well, let's think about it. If I'm correct, in Philadelphia, Roman Reigns won his first championship. In Philadelphia, Roman Reigns won his first ever Royal Rumble. Albeit he wasn't a tribal chief, he was the big dog and the most booed man on the planet, but he did win there. He also lost the most historic modern day title reign of all time in Philadelphia against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. He asked, do you want me to go against Drew McIntyre? To which everybody said no. Or CM Punk? And everybody cheered. And in wrestling, there's a rule, an unwritten rule. When another superstar says another superstar's name, you have to come out. And CM Punk, we appreciate you abiding by that rule. Which Punk is so funny, dude. He comes out, and the first thing he does is go onto the camera and talks about Finn Balor due to the fact that Finn Balor earlier in the night had a video package for CM Punk. And then Roman's just back there in the background like, I'm here in the ring, the Royal Rumble winner, and you're talking about Finn Balor right now? It was hilarious. As of the making of this video, it is February 2026 as I'm recording this. The promo battle between Punk and Roman Reigns is my favorite of the year so far. You have two dudes who have similar history, just not as vocal of a history as of Seth Rollins and CM Punk because of the whole Shield, right? CM Punk leaving WWE back then was it impacted careers. So we never really talked about Roman in that sense because WWE was pushing him up anyway, right? And Seth Rollins, of all people, was the most vocal about it. Like he went on interviews and random interactions with fans and stuff like that and talked about it too. So, we all know about the CM Punk and Seth Rollins beef, but this had some weight to it too. And Punk threw some jabs about Roman being a part-timer and stuff like that and how you must think this is your show. You must think you're on SmackDown or something. I'm the World Heavyweight Champion. I call the shots, in which those things are all true. And in terms of the part-timer comment, Roman Reigns claps back and says, if I was you, I would want to hit every single show too because let's keep one thing clear. You were on vacation for 10 years. And we get to get a little small glimpse of a personal heat between the two because Roman Reigns even brought up when Punk first left the company how he went on his little buddy's podcast and talked down on the company, implying Colt Cabana. So it felt so good. In mid-promo, Roman Reigns essentially tells CM Punk and the fans and everybody that he is choosing him because he hates him. And that's it. He says, I could choose you because you're the champion on the biggest show, Netflix. I could choose you because in terms of marquee caliber, you are the name that can hold the weight of being an opponent of Roman Reigns. But he didn't care about all that. He cared about choosing Phil, aka CM Punk, because he hated him.